truth, really? Do you want to know it? I think I do. And then sometimes my brain is like, and I'm like, okay. And well, I don't even know to say, okay. I'm just like, no, you're wrong. Remember back in the day, we would just be like, well, my mom said this, or my dad said this. And some other kid would be like, well, my dad said this. We didn't have an internet to search. But those secret files, all that information they're keeping from us on issues like JFK's assassination, that file wouldn't be as thick if something like that happened today because of internet sleuths, because of cameras on our phones, because of content creators who dive into this stuff and question it. Okay, I just realized if you're under 30, you might be like, why would the file be thick? You just stick it in the computer thing. No, back in the day, we used this thing called paper. So maybe you haven't heard about Corby Hall, maybe a little bit about Victor Marx, more than you've ever wanted to hear about Erika Kirk. Turning Point, like, okay, they're weird, but whatever, or any of it. And why does it matter? Well, it matters because Turning Point USA is the largest conservative political machine. They got Trump elected, and now, Erica's like, we're gonna get my husband's friend J.D. Vance elected. Victor Marx claims to be close to Charlie Kirk's circle, and he's a dodgy guy. Very dodgy, as are most of the people in the Turning Point circle. Yeah, no exaggeration. It's nuts. And these are the people, oh, there's so much to say. I'm overwhelmed. Right now, we're going to stick with Corby Hall and Victor Marx, and it ties to who directly controls our government. It does. Are there really any conspiracy theories anymore? There's no conspiracy theorists. They're just critical thinkers.
I wanted to give you a chance because I know that Victor Marx has a following. You do not.
That's Corby Hall, a man who put on blast that Victor Marx, a Republican candidate for the governor of Colorado, who has a lot of APAC money between APAC money between. Did I say that enough times to get on their radar? APAC. And so, as easy as it would be to dismiss this guy, as it was Thomas Massey's opponent, whose only political point was, yeah, we need the draft. Who would that benefit if this war escalates? What country that isn't sending in as many troops as we are, and who would that benefit? And guess where his money came from? You know all that. So Victor Marx wants to be governor of Colorado. The guy is dodgy as. To catch up to speed, if you didn't know, Corby's girlfriend, huge Victor Marx fan. I've never heard of the guy. The poster guy of toxic masculinity. He's so gross. So the girlfriend is like, Victor is looking for a compact gun. You just happen to make them. I wonder how long he knew her beforehand. She had him reach out to Victor, who responded right away and said, come up to Colorado. They were in Texas.
I'm excited we're here. This seems like it might be what I've been working for, and all the stress and the lawsuits and the marriages, and finally somebody understands. So, hey, let's do a ritual in prayer.
Corby, like Victor Marx, has quite a colorful history. However, I think Corby's can be documented. Victor, from the moment they got there, launches into this emotional, spiritual manipulation that gets into this like cleansing, not quite an exorcism, but a casting out of demons.
He's asking Eileen a lot of questions about the process. So to me, it was like, well, why does he have to ask her how it goes? Again, I just let it slide.
Earlier in this interview, he mentions letting something else slide. The flags were going up, but the predominant drive for him in that moment was getting this gun sold. And it made me think about Charlie Kirk. Undoubtedly, he had red flags when it came to Erika. No question. But he hadn't dated before. He was a virgin. She was well experienced in all those lots of things. Some people don't even want to hear the name Kirk after Erika. She doesn't deserve it. She betrayed him. Yeah, but he invited that in. Of course, not fully knowing everything. No, but I think it's a good reminder of guarding our hearts, discernment, following the voice, that little gut feeling, that nudge of something is off here. But yeah, I still get it. She's gross.
He commands angels to come down and grab this demon by the arms and make the demon kneel before him.
So many things biblically off about the whole thing. We'll get to some of that later when he's talking to Candace. But I'll just mention here that this idea that he engaged with the demons, you just have to watch one movie that involves exorcism, that you don't engage with the demon.
As I'm doing more research in the Bible, I'm also seeing things that don't look right. And I'm particularly interested in, at this time, in deceptive Christianity. And I'm telling Victor about what I'm finding.
Uh-oh.
He wants me to talk to Jazz about those things. So
Sounds about right.
we're walking around the track up at the top where there's this camera tower.
Victor Marx has all this security. There's a tower with a camera and a bodyguard walking with him. Why? Corby isn't the problem at this point. Why would he be afraid? I don't understand. There was this pastor in Franklin, Tennessee, who had like a $40,000 German Shepherd, guard dog and, guns in his car. I just don't. Truck.
We're walking and he's saying, well, Israel needs your guns. He tells the bodyguard to step back a few paces. And I say, well, yeah, that they have 3,700 schools. They're going to put an IDF guy in each of the schools.
Corby's vision for this compact gun that he designed was for SRO school resource officers to have them on hand in case of school shootings, because that's the world we live in. And Victor Marx was like, yeah, let's do that. And got the relationship going, all psyched up based on that they would put these guns in the hands of, a school security officer through these programs. And they were starting to do some of that, but not very much. And then Victor kept pushing Israel.
Says no, they need 50,000 for the IDF for operations in Gaza and Lebanon and Syria.
He's mentioned two other accounts of this in very specific detail, very believable, where Victor was just adamant about getting these guns and frustrated that Corby would even question him at all. It's really frustrating that Victor refused to do the interview with him. I mean, Candace invited Victor to be there as well, and he declined. There's video from a town hall Victor Marx held where this guy goes off on him. His followers, a lot of these toxic male kind of types, they were furious because the idea is that, you confront and you man up and you hit it head on. And Victor wasn't doing that. This guy went off. It's biblical to face your accuser and deal with them directly. Instead, Victor is now putting Corby's license plate on the internet to his 4 million followers, he says. Bit reckless. And he wants to be governor.
Too many red flags for me, I'm just staring at him and he's staring back and he says, I could whoop your ass and there ain't nothing you could do about it. Thinking back of it, why did we stop right into the camera? Was he trying to get me to come at him?
If you have seen so much as a picture of Victor Marx, you know that is completely believable.
I'm in contact with someone from Haiti who knows Victor Marx, and it's just getting even more interesting.
And horrifying. I'm not going to go into all of it now because I don't want to. But here's some details that you can, if you feel so led. But did I mention he's a dodgy guy? Speaking of dodgy.
Her mother, similarly, was trying to buy or get the patent, I should say, for another gun company, unique gun company.
Yeah, Erika's mom, pretty dodgy too.
There are other people outside of Corby Hall.
There always are. Please remember that. It's never just you. There's an enemy that wants to isolate us because then in that shame and isolation, we are more vulnerable.
Holly Chalmers accused him of kidnapping her across state lines and of exploiting her. Victor Marx claims that he was actually rescuing her from her pedophile boyfriend.
I believe that he's a trafficker himself.
Victor's own daughter would accuse him of abuse, very publicly, very detailed. And then she would retract it, apparently after going through a divorce. After the interview Candace had with her dad, she made this statement, over $15,000. Girl be lying. I wonder where she learned that from.
Victor Marx. Victor Marx, welcome to the Candace Show. How are you doing?
I'm doing good, Candace.
Oh, it's all downhill from there, actually, and then it goes uphill again, and then down, but not quite down, and then swings to the side and takes you for kind of like the roller coaster ride where your friend is like, it won't be bad, and then you find yourself laying on the bench outside the entrance to the park, just wishing you could die. Six Flags Atlanta.
I'd like to guide this conversation sort of in order, meaning starting a little bit with your background.
Interviewers don't always do this, but she tells him straight up the structure of this and how she's going to do this. And he's like, no, I have the wiener.
I have a lot of questions about some of the stories that you've shared.
I cut chunks out, which I don't believe affect the integrity of what's being said. I sped it up because you may have seen the whole thing, and I don't want to put you through that again. When you see the little black kind of flash thing, that's definitely like where I spliced it. Now, I may have missed a black thing or not, so that wasn't, I'm not trying to intentionally deceive anybody. I just,
Story about beheading a cat at the age of 3. I mean, it's not an easy thing to behead a cat.
Let's start with, I think, what's most relevant right now.
As someone who has watched a lot of interviews, that's all. I watch a lot of them. Man, they're all just kind of reading out of the same playbook.
Let's start with, I think, what's most relevant right now.
How does she work for Erika?
So I will go back to how we got here.
Okay.
I think it would be so people can track this. I think it's more important.
So what were you doing in New York?
So to go back a little bit further, first and foremost, I'm a daughter to the King, to the Most High.
Deflection's not enough for Erika Kirk. She's got to throw in some spiritual manipulation. Totally changes the vibe. She was just asked, what were you doing in New York City? Well, part of that involved working out of an office tied to Jeffrey Epstein. So she doesn't want to stay in that energy. So she throws out some whoop it up for Jesus. And it worked. Megyn Kelly never pressed the point. But in all fairness, I think it might be because Megyn was told by Charlie on her August 6th podcast that he was still working on his book, that he was still learning Hebrew and working on his book on the Sabbath. That was August 6th. But when she asked Erika when it was finished, Erika said June or July, I think, definitely before August. Megyn, because she's sly, said, well, did you read it in full, like before it was finished? Yeah, but Erika's very sheepish. I've showed that clip several times. I won't do it here, but she busts her wide open. That would be a lot for Megyn Kelly to take in. And yet she kept it together, but she asked several questions that made it clear that Erika Kirk wasn't just making a mistake. There was another interview where she also said the book was finished in June. So, liar. Erika Kirk is a liar, allegedly.
In what we're going to discuss in the time I'm giving you freely.
Dear God.
To talk about some things. Are you willing to admit when you're wrong?
Do you have the humility to pivot and right this wrong?
What's most relevant right now are the latest accusations by your last guest, Corby.
So, Victor, just so you know, you're on my show. I'm not on yours. So I'm going to guide the conversation. You are running for governor, so I think your biography is important.
The conundrum Victor is facing here is that his biographical background, it can be fact-checked. You try it. Corby's not there to defend himself. He can say anything he wants about Corby. It's just,
Candace, we have to start with what brought me here, which is Corby. I clearly communicated to you and your staff, do not have him on, do your research because he's unstable.
Oh, yeah. Later he will share how he declared to Hamas that they should stop shooting missiles over into Israel, and he expresses his frustration that they didn't listen.
Corey has filled out a statement both with local authorities and FBI, and he told her and her husband that he had plans to kill me, and she felt responsible for it being fueled.
I did a little, actually, like 60 pages of digging, and he's right about that.
And your name was brought up as he's aggravated, something about he didn't get what he wanted out of your show.
That I couldn't verify, but it sure reminded me of some psychological manipulation that Andrew Colvett tried to pull off.
He said, and I quote, "Candace, it was supposed to be you."
Andrew Colvett said that to Candace right after Charlie died. You talk about some mind. That. If you read lips, you know what I said. There's no other appropriate word. Just messing with her head. That's cruel. But considering all the other things that he may have, that Andrew allegedly may have been involved in, that was probably the least of his evils. Allegedly, perhaps, maybe,
Gave detailed plans on how he was going to lay in wait to kill me.
We received only a message from Corey that she got a phone call from the FBI and that they were investigating you for gun running. I was not contacted by the FBI. I can't verify it. And as I said, we can discuss Corby's allegations, but I would like to begin with just the cat.
As y'all are a quasi-investigative team by all your allegations, did you see Corey's public statement about what happened?
Well, after watching this, I did. Corey Kennedy, and she is an impressive woman, seems to have a lot of integrity and does a lot of research. In a nutshell, yeah, Corey did reach out.
Nothing to do with any pending investigations. I have not been contacted by law enforcement.
Candace, you seem to be a little afraid of truth.
I haven't been following her for long, but the impression I get is that Candace Owens is more afraid of not knowing the truth.
What I once thought was a solid show years ago, you've turned this into a TMZ, and worse than TMZ, it's like a Temu version of it.
He's exhibited before how shame is his go-to, so that's par for course.
I have not seen it, so I cannot have a conversation with you about that. What I can have a conversation with you about is the statements that you have publicly made, and I would like to focus on your biographical items. I don't think
Candace,
that Corby
I just
Hall is
wanted
going
that
to
on
be
the
your number
record.
one
Thank
issue.
you.